So, and one other thing I didn't bring up is not everybody knows about them. They're called wrap-ups. They're OSIPs, owner-controlled insurance programs, or CSIPs.
Yeah.
So I wrote the Contractor Survival Guide to wrap-ups.
I have the book. I have it.
Yeah. So what it is, and so I write it because this helps the subs, instead of helping the wrap-up administrator and all those guys.
Yeah.
So another mistake I find is when you're working on one of those projects, one of these wrap-up projects, and you don't have any claims, all that data, meaning your payroll and no claims, is supposed to go on your experience mod worksheet. You want it to go there, especially if you don't have any claims. Well, I found it where it wasn't filed. And I've gone back and gotten it filed. So I put all this payroll on here, no losses. So what happens to everything? The mod goes down drastically. So it drops all of that. So I do a lot of that too. That's one of the kind of the one-offs that we look at.
Right.
So it is, and that's, our niche now. I'm in a private equity group over in Tampa, filled with M&A attorneys, private equity, investment bankers. So I'm that guy in this
You're
group
the educator.
I'm the premium recovery guy. Bring me in, doesn't cost. And you've got all these companies you bought. Let me look at it.
It's a smart business move. I hear this sometimes with contractors that will go to banks and educate them about how to deal with contractors. So there's guys that are doing this now, and they don't charge. It's because they want the bank to succeed. Yeah. Like you want your client to succeed.
That's right.
So you give your client all the tools necessary and the knowledge. When you're talking, I keep thinking of financial advice, that this is something kind of like that, where people at some point, you said, if a guy has 10 contractors, 10 painters, 10 employees, smaller operation, you can keep track of that. But once you exceed a certain amount of clientele and you have a larger business, it's kind of like a person who has 100,000 in the bank versus a guy with 5 million. Now this guy is going to need advice. He was able to handle managing the 100 grand. He maybe bought 2 stocks. It was easy to manage. Now you got 5 mil. And now you need the strategies like, should I get out of my IRA and go into a Roth?
Right.
And these things are, these people are, the people you're dealing with most likely have succeeded in multiple facets of their life and know the value of advice from an expert like what you're doing. Right. So it's an easier sell once you deal with someone who's sophisticated in the idea of taking advice.
And I think a lot of times people think that they're with the largest broker in the world, right? So obviously we're with the largest broker in the world. Yeah. So what? You think that gets you good advice? It's a people business, right? You don't know. And so look, and like to say that you specialize in something, I've been doing it for 30 something years. When I look at something, I can tell pretty quickly. Yeah. And
experience, I think, is the key.
Right. It is.
Because education can be had all the way through it, but the experience can't. You've got to live the experience, the firsthand knowledge of being the one who sees things. Right. And I'm sure you run into things that you haven't seen before, right? It's got to happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I get those one-offs. That's what I was saying. Every once in a while, like the OSIP, if they're working on an OSIP or a CSIP or a wrap-up, those are kind of the one-offs that I get. But once you got it, you know what I mean? Now
I noticed that this is interesting because you've been called the Sherlock Holmes of workers' comp. Yeah. Right? The detective. Right. Is that, do you like that? The idea of you being a detective?
Well, it's
an investigator?
Yeah.
A sleuth.
I think you're the only one that calls me the Sherlock Holmes. But one thing that jazzes me is this. If you love what you're doing, when somebody goes, I need you to look at all this stuff, that gets me more excited, than...
It's treasure hunting.
Look, more fun or as fun is, so I said we do reviews for gaps and exclusions and coverages, right? And so when we're going through auto, general liability, Carmen, there's more mistakes made on that than there's workers' comp. But I've been doing workers' comp so long that when somebody sends me all the policies, literally things like, because I'll say, so you've got a contract. I'll just pick Moss. right? And in that contract to build, you're working over at Moffett, you have to have these coverages on these forms. So when I say, let me look at everything, I want to see that contract. Because by the way, if you don't have these coverages on these forms, you just violated the contract. They may not pay you.
Oh, wow.
They may not pay you.
And they wait to the end?
I don't know. I'm fixing it as I go. When they send it to me, I go, we got to get this fixed first. So some of this stuff is priorities, just to make sure we're not going to have a problem with it. This is the most recent. Did I tell you about the tree trimmer in New Jersey?
I don't think so.
Okay. So a company out of New Jersey is called Superior Safety Solutions. They know of me, right? And so all they're doing is they're a third-party safety contractor. So they get into this tree trimmer up in New Jersey who's got a 2-point, just say a 2 mod, right? And this company does tree trimming and they do excavation. They do both. So anyway, one of the guys there knows me and he said, look, can you come look at their workers' comp? Because they're getting put in the assigned risk.
Yeah.
That's where they're going. And so that was another $100,000 if they got put in the assigned risk in New Jersey. Anyway, so
what is that, like the state's policy?
the state policy. Now, some states, the assigned risk is not so bad. Florida, you don't want to be in it, in the assigned risk. You get punished. And New Jersey's the same way. So we look at all the stuff. And I said, why don't you let us look at everything? So we ended up looking at the general liability policies. And they had an exclusion on the general liability for earth movement. That's called, it's tree trimming
and excavation.
So some people think, okay, earth movement is you got a dozer or
Push
something.
it.
A D9 in there just pushing
it.
a shovel.
Is earth moving?
Is earth moving. Had no idea. And by the way, they were with the 4th largest broker in the world. That's who they were with.
It's so crazy.
had
And definitions are the problem too, right? Because definitions become legalized terms that mean
It's
something.
the interpretation of what's earth
And the
moving.
interpretation.
Yeah, it's what it is. So and I know I've told the story about, it's from your class, and I'll just say the guy's first name, Brian. And so he does AC work and plumbing. And the guy's loaded, right? Very, very, very successful guy. And he said, Duke, so we did the workers' comp forever for him, right? He goes, I want you to look at all the other stuff. So bring it all in. So we do a gap analysis, exclusions, all of that stuff. So it comes back with, when I'm having my meeting, so this is, we're not even quoting it. I just said, here's where we're going to start.
Yeah.
Because you said that guy's a dear friend of yours. And the chances of you moving the coverage are like slim to none, right? So let's start with this. So the first thing I said to Brian is, I go, look, I just want you to know you're covered for residential work. He goes, all right, good.
Yeah.
I go, do you do condos? He goes, yeah, no coverage. You do apartments? Oh, no coverage. Mixed use buildings? No coverage.
This whole time he's been operating.
Yeah, and because the agent's saving him money, but not telling him that the reason he's not telling him because he doesn't know. Because he's not reading, they're not reading policies.
Is that a malpractice kind of thing?
Look, absolutely it is. Are you kidding? This guy he's in a condo, 6 floors up. They put the ice maker in, on the refrigerator. They don't tighten the water line.
Yeah.
Drip, drip,
Right.
drip, all the way down, and that's sitting there. And he has no coverage.
Now, what about retro coverage? Because he already did the job, wasn't covered at the time.
That's a problem.
Can't go back?
Can't go back. So, because he's no coverage for that, because he's working in a condo. Condos are excluded. And I'm going to tell you, when that meeting was over, look, if Brian would have known that, he goes, look, I knew about this, I take the risk. I will tell you this, I can't say this on workers' comp, that I'm 100% of the time I find stuff, but I can tell you on the general liability, 100% of the time, auto coverage, umbrellas, 100% of the time.